Welcome to your weekly program, BelAhdan, a show with an accent for those without one. Last week, or a couple of days ago, we all heard about the Egyptian hijacker. This is really the most comical story coming out of Egypt without Al-Sisi involved in it. I'm not endorsing hijacking, but it's semi-comical. It has the Egyptian character in it, taking selfie with the passengers and taking selfie with some of the crew. And people focusing on this Egyptian that he wants, deliver love letter to his estranged wife. And it's really, the story has the element of a book right there and a movie and, whatever you might make out of this. But really what's missing of this story is the fact that the real hijacker is General Sisi. He's really hijacking the January 25th revolution. He hijacked the only election or elected civilian president in Egyptian history. He hijacking the whole country. People are trapped. And one of them, a story as this Saifuddin Mustafa, the guy who couldn't leave his country to see his ex-wife and to see his kids. He's trapped, he's on the run, and the only way he can leave the country is to do this hijacking business. So it's an interesting story, but really it tells a lot about what's going on in Egypt right now under General Sisi that is being supported by our country right here. Today we're talking about acting from the Arab Americans when they find their niche and their place in a different country, in a different culture, and how Arab America represent themselves by producing their own play, telling their own stories. Our guest today played in two of them. One, she represented herself as an Arab American. The other one represented by someone else. So we have here Taous Khazem, and she's an actress, and she is really making headways here in the Twin Cities. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's get into this. And I saw you in a play that you directed, and you written and played that in Algeria. They Know My Name. It's a beautiful, really. When you hear that, that's any immigrants or any Arab Americans deal with this dual identity and personality, two culture, and the way you handle it is so beautiful, and it has this not condescending, but you dealt with the two culture in a very creative, brilliant way. Everybody goes through this as an immigrant, who am I, what I'm doing, but we get depressed, we go drink, we do whatever, but you made a play. That's the difference. We have the same issue, but we have problems. So we cannot deal with it. And we get whatever, bent out of shape, but you made a beautiful play. That's the difference between talented artist and somebody with no talent.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
In Algeria, They Know My Name is my second one-woman show, and I wrote it and I perform in it, and it's directed by Zaraawar Mistry, and it tells the story of me becoming Algerian, essentially. I was born in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis. I grew up in St. Paul. And my mom's American, my dad's from Algeria, and he immigrated in 1979. I was born in 1981, a couple of years later. And I never went to Algeria as a kid. I went there for the first time when I was 22, and I was living in France, and I was going to school, and so it was a lot easier and cheaper to get to Algeria from France. And so I went when I was 22. I met my family for the first time, and it was this huge revelation for me because I had always, growing up here, I had kind of the funny name that you mentioned.
Taous.
Taous means peacock. It rhymes with a lot of words, house, mouse, so I got made fun of a lot. No one knew how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
My last name is Khazem, which is an Algerian last name. So I was sort of struggling, like, who am I? How do I fit in? I'm very Minnesotan, I'm very American, And I went to Algeria, and all of a sudden I met my family, and everybody around me, we had the same last name. And I had never experienced that before.
I see, yes.
I never experienced. I had cousins, my aunts. Like we kind of look like each other a little bit, and my family was very warm and said, we always knew you'd come, and as if they'd sort of
So
been
they
waiting.
haven't seen you before for how long? I mean, what?
22 years. I was 22 when I got there.
So
yeah.
they only hear about you and
and seen pictures and so my way of dealing with this sort of discovery of this other side of myself was to write a one-woman show, and a few years after that it was called Tiziuzu. And then this play, In Algeria They Know My Name, I feel like is a much more personal, because rather than being a bunch of composite characters, it's really my story, theatricalized a bit, changed a few things, just to make the writing make sense. And so it's about me going to Algeria and then meeting my husband unexpectedly, not my intention.
I hope not.
But we met, we have a mutual friend, and we got married, and I lived there for 3 years, and I worked as an actress in the Algerian theater community. Mohammed, my husband, we had our own theater company, but then we also worked for the regional theater of Oran and gigged around at different places. I did a lot of workshops and taught. And
Oran, for other people, because I first heard it's not Iran that
no.
we know. This is a city.
Wahran, yeah, O-R-A-N.
Oran,
yeah. Okay. Western Algeria,
yeah.
About 3 hours from Morocco. And so I had this whole, every year, every day, I was uncovering things about Algeria that, I'd have one idea of how things were, and then something would happen, and then I would be like, oh no, oh, it's not that way. For example, I realized that my family is much more traditional, but not very religious. And I realized that Mohammed's family is not very traditional, but more religious.
Interesting.
And that for me, I was like, oh my gosh, of course they're not, necessarily
not
one thing. And that was really important for me to understand. And then I'll understand too how the artistic community worked, how the theatrical community worked. And then now Mohammed and I, Mohammed more than me, have started working in television in Algeria. And so that, of course, also, every time I'm sort of peeling things back. So the play is about me, discovering and peeling these things back, and then also a big chunk of it is about our wedding and me bumping up against what for my in-laws is how you do a wedding, and then what was in my head about what is a wedding. And then the second half of the play is really about living there and reconciling my place.
But also Muhammad's family was like a little Algeria, because he has a lot of brother and sister, and each one is different. Everyone's a character.
Absolutely.
So in a way, this is your little Algeria was his family.
Right, his family's like the little microcosm of Algeria.
The one cool one, the one who wants whatever. And so you took us through this. So how, you're always intrigued by this, and I always wonder how, as an actress, artist, separate yourself from the reality, and then you tell the story. It's still a fiction.
Absolutely.
It's not.
It's not 100% true.
So and you need to be separated from this reality so you can tell the story.
Yeah. Well, I look at each character as a character. So what is their attitude? What is their physicality? What is their vocal quality? And so I build it, thinking about how maybe the real person might be, but then layering on my own interpretation of who they are. It's harder when I'm sort of telling the story as myself to find that separation, and it's vulnerable and uncomfortable, and
you're involving also not just about you, about someone else, his family.
Right, and my own interpretation of the events.
And you don't want to be Orientalist or somebody.
Yeah, I want to be honest as to what I experienced, and also give the person credit. Not just assume things about them.
I see.
But you do have to find a distance and just treat them as a character, as you would any other play.
No, how comfortable were they? Do they know that when they thought we're going to do a story, and what was their reaction?
I was nervous about it, but my husband, Mohammed, he told his mom, and she was very proud. She was flattered.
You wouldn't expect that.
No, she was very flattered, and she said
somebody recognized her.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm sort of giving her voice. I'm not always extremely kind,
Yeah.
but but I'm giving
Very
voice
boring.
to her
Kindness
experience.
is very boring.
Yeah, and I think she also said Muhammad's her son. She has a son who's an actor.
Yeah.
She knows that
Little bit.
the way that we process things is to make art.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she recognizes that the way that I process my experience living with her and getting married to her son is to make a piece of art about it. And
That's very interesting because when I go to Egypt to do some cover story or whatever on television, and people say, oh, people won't talk to you, people whatever, have to be careful. And I found it the other way. I mean, totally opposite. You know, when you meet somebody, stranger in the street, and you want to ask him talk about something, or a cab driver or whatever, they are thrilled to recognize him.
Yes.
And they start off slow, but now you can shut them off. I mean, they want to talk, they want to tell their own stories.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think it might be different here. So it seems like, yes, the play was about discovering Algeria, but you also discovered yourself. It was a lot of things about
And that's
yourself.
the most important part.
So what did you learn about yourself for those making that play?
I think what I learned the most about myself is that I exist in between. You know, when there's a little something different about me in Algeria, and there's a little something different about me in America, and it's okay to exist in between. And yeah.
I love that. You know, not flattery. It's just okay. And okay is okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be thrilled or you have to be happy.
Yeah.
I think happiness, once you decide happiness is way overrated, you become okay.
Yeah.
So when you say I'm okay, and I hear I'm not really 100% Algerian, I'm not 100% Minnesotans, isn't it that way, in a way, liberating you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
To tell the story,
Absolutely.
to be something?
Yeah. And that it's okay that when I'm here, I have to correct people saying my name. I'm okay with that now.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me
You
anymore.
don't get tired of spelling your name like
No, and I've learned little tricks, you
Yeah.
know, to help with
related
that.
to them.
Yeah, and also that it's a conversation starter, and I'm okay with that now.
Yeah,
you know?
interesting.
And when I'm in Algeria and I make huge mistakes in Arabic, and I have an accent in French, and my Berber is pitiful, it's okay.
Wasn't the character in Saturday Night Live?
Oh yes, that Al Franken created.
It's okay. People love. Go and shut up. And I think that trophy culture that American kids grow with, everything, you have to win things. You have to have trophy. You have to always winning. It's okay if you lose some.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
mean, you can't be winning in sport and math and spilling. You know, it's back home. It's different. You're not winning anything, and people are okay with that. And,
Yeah.
And so when you didn't play this back home,
I haven't done in Algeria. They know my name.
what do
in
you think?
Algeria. I want to do it a little bit more in the United States before I do it
To
in
see
Algeria, just to feel more confident about it, and to, you know, if there are any more kinks to work out, that I work those out. Because when you do a show like this, you're always learning new things. And
that's what live performance is.
yeah, and on Monday, you know, I started rehearsal again with the director, and, you know, we were even talking about, oh, let's, you know, this could be finessed a little bit more, or you could say this a little bit differently.
And this is going to be, when is going to be played?
So it will be April 15, 16, and 17.
Where?
At Dreamland Arts, which is on Hamlin Avenue in St. Paul, just north of University.
And I know the idea of Arab artists representing themselves. This is your show. You wrote it and performed it, and you have control in some way of how you want to present this. And this is not the case all the time. When you play in another play, was it different? Because I saw both of them. And as an Arab watching, and I try not to push that Arab things, you know, I'm watching it like anything else. But I felt in the eyes of Lam, I mean, the acting was excellent. She really did a good job. And you great job of, you know, you're the French maid, right? Am I correct?
Correct.
And you have present all the time, but you you have a short, effect in the play. And that's even harder than when you are the star of the play, because everybody's looking at you, the scenario is helping the star, but you have to really bring all this on yourself with that little thing. So that was very impressive for me, at least.
Thank you.
But tell us a little bit about your experience with both plays.
Well, in Algeria, they know my name is, I wrote it. It's based on my life. It's a personal story, and like you say, told from my point of view and my experiences. Eye of the Lamb was produced by Workhouse Collective and written by Trista Baldwin, directed by Jeremy Wilhelm. And it's the story of Gertrude Bell, who was a British woman who moved to the Middle East, went to all sort of corners of, from a very wealthy family in Britain, and didn't want to have the life sort of prescribed for her in Victorian England. So went off traveling, and eventually worked for the British government. She worked as an archaeologist. She was a spy at one point during World War I.
They all are, Khazem. They all are. The white burden.
Yeah, and then she's credited with drawing the borders of what we know as modern Iraq. So it was her story told at the end of her life. And her relationship with King Faisal, her relationship with the high commissioners that Britain
the
assigned.
authoritative figure over
Yeah.
there.
And from her perspective of feeling that everything that she'd been working for was now being undermined by the government.
But the idea of Lawrence of Arabia, is, and at the same time too, Lawrence of Arabia went to Saudi Arabia. I don't know what those British they keep sending. Everybody takes a country. It's like a chess game or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the thing is, the complexity of her personality
Yeah.
Was there, and I think it's well written and everything. But nothing new. When it's almost like a documentary, even from the writing perspective, not the acting. Acting was excellent from the actors there. But I expected something, and that's what art is. You take historical events and you get a new twist. I mean, we had enough of that on CNN and other play and movies that misrepresent Arabs in the media and all of that. But I don't think they took that much risk. It was just, here it is.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the acting and whatever, I mean, it was just, I didn't learn, I could read the book, whatever. Just my take on it. And that the artists, especially now when all the homeland media, Islamophobia and all of that, I might be terrified sitting in a play like that.
Okay,
When it's still stereotyping Orientalist way. I didn't even see an Arab on the stage, except King, whatever.
Faisal.
That he plays music. What was interesting, he was in the band too.
Yeah, he was.
I was telling the director, he was a little bit leery about, what do you think after the play? I said, if you can get King Faisal to play music in a band, you've done a great job. But anyway, seriously.
I think your feedback is really important and valuable. For me, in that particular project, I was there as an actor, and so, like you say, it's a completely different experience because you're there. I mean, it was in part a little bit collaborative as the script was being written as we were rehearsing, but it's still the voice of the playwright and the vision of the director, and then as the actor, you're there to capture all of that.
And that's why when I'm asking, is it hard for the actor? You know you are part of this.
Sure.
And as an actress, you just you're dealing with the director. You're dealing with so that's also some of the issue that I think your group, Arab artists, try to address. That you want to have control over the
point of view and the perspective.
Yeah.
It's an interesting balance as a performer. When you enter into working on a project and where your responsibility lies, and sort of versus also an opportunity to work with really talented
Yeah,
artists.
yeah, exactly. It was really, don't take me wrong, it was
Yeah.
well written and well acted. I mean, it was the complexity of that personality she presented there. And I mean, it's also, it address how could someone be, defending and pro friends of the Iraqis, but in the same token, he's part of the oppressors.
Yeah.
The
and
complicity.
Yes, and I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
I really, really want to know more about the Iraqi perspective, because most of the writing about Gertrude Bell is
Yeah.
done by
American.
Americans or British
Yeah.
historians or writers or biographers, or Bell's writing herself. And I don't read Arabic well.
Let's
And
put it that way.
and
It's okay.
it's okay, but it's
Yeah,
okay.
it's
I'm okay with that.
There's a lot of people read Arabic, didn't do as much. Good.
But if the play does end up getting reworked, and that's one thing that I would definitely encourage.
And I think that the director said that. It's not,
Yep,
it's
that's
not finished
the goal.
product.
Right. The goal is to rework it and continue to investigate further. And here's one version, and then how can we go and take the feedback and realize what wasn't working and what was offensive, and look at it from more
Take
different
some risk.
angles.
I think taking
Yeah.
some risk. And in a way, the tension between Miss Bell and the Press Commission arrogance and represent authoritative figure. There was little tension and a kind of dialogue and conversation. And I was telling the director, if they can expand on that a little bit and kind of be self-critical
Sure.
of that
Yeah.
dynamic instead of just the Arabs. They know the difference between camel milk.
Right.
Cheap
That's a
shots.
story we
Yeah,
know.
Yeah, you heard
Yeah.
it. So what? Didn't add anything.
Right.
I mean, we will have people say worse everywhere.
Every
so as
day.
an artist, I'm leaving all this mainstream Islamophobic bias against the Arab. I'm going to a live play to see something different. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the acting, and I enjoy the fact that you really capture. And I know I mentioned that before. When you have a supporting role, and I think for me it's harder than the main role for me, because the director is helping the star, the story is helping the scenario, but for you, you have to really do it all on your own. Somebody just and you didn't stand in the way, and you understand your relationship with your
Right. And that's what's important, is you have to
Exactly.
figure out what the relationship is and what the hierarchy is.
It's all about
Yeah.
relationship. But we really enjoyed the both of them, and how many plays so far? I mean, you have. How many plays you've been involved with in the Twin Cities?
Oh, over the course of my career so
Yeah.
far? So since 2006, so it's 10 years that I've been working here as an actress, so
A lot.
a lot.
Which is okay. No, what I'm saying, I mean, this is not the first time you played in a play that you did not represent, or did not play that you represent yourself, your culture,
Oh,
whatever.
yes.
That's what I'm saying. So,
yeah, I've played everything from
Yeah.
A queen to a satirical version of Michelle Bachmann to
Oh, really? What would play that?
at Interact Center for the Visual and Performing Arts.
I missed that one.
That was called By the Seat of Our Pants. Interact, also, we have another show coming up, opening April 29th, called Hell is Empty, Now the Devils Are Here, about the political process. And in that, I'll be playing a satirical version of Sarah Palin.
Do I smell a theme here?
But I've also played like an adventuring mime and other, kind of random things.
Well, we hope we'll see this before the election. Because thank you so much.
Thank you.
Taous Khazem, an Arab American actress here, that she is finding her ways, her niche in the Twin Cities and in America in general, and across the ocean in Algeria. And we'll be watching her story. We'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum, and God bless you all.